led by Madam Jogo here. The diaspora, we want to consolidate and improve on our diaspora policy. When the department sends out its requests for ideas, please respond as early as possible. And we also need to acknowledge that in Japan, we've had strong relationship, and some of you, not all, but a good number of you may have come here on JICA scholarships. And we are therefore very appreciative to the government of Japan on that score. And our mission here, led by His Excellency the President, is really to consolidate that partnership. So while we are operating from Nairobi and you are in Japan, don't just look at yourselves as the diaspora. Take it that you're patriotic Kenyans and you're ambassadors of Kenya and ambassadors of the President of Kenya. So, Your Excellency, having said that, let me now take this opportunity to invite you so that you can address this very large and distinguished gathering in Tokyo. Can you all be upstanding so that His Excellency can step forward and address us? Piga moja ile ya Kenya. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, PCS. Let's take our leaders present here from Kenya and Japan. Wakenya wenzangu hamjambo. Good evening. Very good. Sana. This opportunity to, in a very special way, congratulate each and every one of you for making it for this Kakunji. I know many of you have traveled from different parts of and I know how much it is a sacrifice all the way so that we can have this meeting, get together of citizens of our great country Kenya, and to exchange ideas and to listen and to see how we can forge a better country for ourselves. We all understand that for us to move Kenya in the direction that we all aspire, it takes collective effort. It takes everybody's contribution. It takes everybody's understanding and coming together and the that is required to move our country forward. I want to congratulate all of you for being wonderful ambassadors of Kenya in this country. I can say without a doubt that we do not have any adverse reports. I have met with many officials. Sometimes I go to some other places and I get complaints. I must say that we haven't filed any complaint from Japan. So you guys, I must say, I am very proud that you have flown our flag very high and you have given us respect that Kenyans deserve in this country, and I am looking forward to a great trip that is very important for our country and a win-win outcome for us and Japan. I will not want because my very PS has spoken on behalf of all of us. And she is the holder of the docket, and I have engaged with her in what we need to do, and I must say that there is a lot of difference that I see what that looked like a year ago to what it looks like today. I think sometimes it used to even be very difficult to because there wasn't somebody whose business it was to work with the Kenyan diaspora. Run up to the last election and every other election before, there was always a push by the diaspora for recognition, for better engagement with their government, and that is why I made this decision that for the first time we will have a State Department with a dedicated principal secretary to mind, to run, to engage with our diaspora, and that is her only business. And I'm seeing tremendous results, and all of you who asked the government of Kenya to think about the diaspora, you were right. It was time that as government we had a much more in-depth, expanded, dependent engagement with our diaspora. To learn is engagement, and I'm very confident that we will scale it up. Better engage with our diaspora and better leverage on our diaspora for the good of our country. I have been briefed about the engagement that has been achieved through the mobile consular services. We are looking at how we can regularize so that it's not a one-off and it's not something that is done once in a while. It must be a regular. People must expect that these services will be made available. And Rosalyn and her team at the State Department are working on how to make sure that you know when they can deliver your passport, when they can deliver the other issues that require from the government of Kenya, including identification cards and many of the other items. I also want to tell you that added on to that mobile consular services, we've now moved, as I said, to the people of Kenya, we've moved many government services onto the digital platform to make it easier for Kenyans from across Kenya to engage with government from the comfort of where they are. We had 50 government services a year and a half ago. We have escalated that because I made a commitment that we would make sure that 80% of government services are online. In fact, 80%, according to us that time, was 7,000 government services. We then discovered that there were actually more government services than we thought. As I'm talking to you now, we have 14,000 government services online. And counting. Our estimation now, looking at what we have done, we thought of 7,000, now we are at 14,000. In fact, we have is between 17,000 and 18,000 government services. We are continuing that journey until we make the government of Kenya fully digital. There will be a lot that will go into that. We will look at cybersecurity, we will look at many other components, and we expect to tap into expertise like what the Prime Cabinet Secretary was saying here, of Kenyans living abroad who are experts and professionals for them to work with us to see how we can secure our data. Geoffrey, you're listening? Yeah, how we can secure our data and how we can work together to make sure that services provided by the government of Kenya are seamless and uninterrupted. Added onto that space, and you know, of course, as we digitize government services, as is expected, there is a lot of resistance. We had something like 1,000 pay bills, you know. Now we have reduced the 3,000 pay bills to 1, so that we can have sight of government revenue. The 3,000 pay bills across Kenya, some of them are in people's names, and they used to collect government revenue. And you know what happens when somebody collects government revenue? You may get a portion of it, you may get nothing. So we are, there have been resistance, but everybody now realized that we mean what we say, and therefore we are closing in to making sure that all government services are fine. You may have heard the latest about school fees in Kenya, or money that is by parents. And some of the monies paid by parents, for example, in boarding schools, because we provide resources for learning in all our primary schools and secondary schools, what parents pay. We are insisting because we realize that there are illegal levies charged by boards of management of schools that go into accounts that nobody knows. And therefore, we have insisted that all monies charged to Kenyans must be transparent. It must be in a place where we can account for. Payment of services in cash, because that is what we're trying to get away from. Any payments in cash is payment that are very slippery, very sticky, and sometimes we lose a lot of money. And I remember when we came into office in 2014, it was not possible to pay for any government service. And it was a tragedy that you couldn't pay for a government service with a credit card or with any other mechanism other than you putting together some money and going to pay. Now we have gone the complete opposite. Shortly, it will not be possible to pay for any government service in cash. We will demand that for purposes of accountability, for purposes of transparency, for purposes of tracing and record, it will be the norm to pay not in cash. So again, we are the lawyers at some point had a problem of paying fees at the Ministry of Lands in the manner in which we were suggesting, but now we are agreed. That is the direction, and we now have the support of the lawyer fraternity for purposes of making sure that we eliminate corruption, we deal firmly with matters to do with accountability, and making sure that we can account for every cent that we collect as government. Let me also say that as we do that, we are looking at how the diaspora as well can benefit from what we're doing. You know, it's now possible for you in diaspora to pay for, if you want to pay for electricity bill for your mother somewhere in the village, you can pay from where you are, and they can continue enjoying whatever that they are looking for. So that speaks to the whole of government, whole of its approach to services. It is my commitment also to expand the Kenyan diaspora, because the Kenyan diaspora, the Kenyan human capital is a big resource, is a big asset. Just for your knowledge, we spend 650 billion Kenya shillings. That's about $5 billion every year to educate our children from primary school all the way to our universities. That is big spending. In fact, it is close to 30% of the budget of the government of Kenya. It is the single largest budget of the government of Kenya. It is therefore important that apart from spending that much money, which is spending doing the right thing, we must figure out how this huge resource that we are sharpening through education, training, and knowledge can be an asset for the economic growth of our country, for the development of Kenya. And it is the reason why we now have a very deliberate plan on how to monetize our human capital. And one of the ways is to build a greater diaspora. Part of the instructions I have given to Roslyn and the Ministry of Labor is for them to framework, and it is one of the things that I monitor on a daily basis. My strategy office, execution office led by Aden, it's one of the items on my radar as to building for Kenyans to have jobs locally, but also for us to connect high quality skilled professional labor